Oh, hi! I'm sipping some delicious black coffee over here. It sets the energy from my day, kind of like the carbon black paint I'm about to use on my canvas. I'm Anastasia Mack, and I'm here to spread the fun of acrylic painting. And man, there's a lot of new people here. Thank you. Thank you for watching. So let's get into today's subject. So when it comes to acrylic painting and color advice, most instructors will agree on one thing: ditch your black. Well, I'm not most instructors, and I love bending the rules from time to time. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how I'll be using plenty of black to create a color harmony for this piece. That said, those instructors aren't exactly wrong. Overusing black as a beginner can send your color palette straight into the murky, lifeless territory. Natural shadows and darks in real life aren't truly black. They're deep, rich, complex, and full of color variations. Straight black has this way of contaminating your palette, making your painting feel heavy, dull, and, well, kind of dead. Especially if you're going for something expressive, colorful, or glowing. It can zap the energy real quick. But black can add a special, unique element to the piece when you use it masterfully, especially with understanding of how to balance it or mix it into colors. So, today I'm stepping into the so-called forbidden zone with plenty of black on my brush and a mission to still create a painting that feels vibrant and alive. Let's see what happens. After getting my sketch on canvas with white charcoal, I go over it with black paint and do my usual paint outline. This is part of my personal painting style, and it helps to solidify my sketch in place. Now I create my first black mix. Cadmium yellow and black actually makes a very nice, calm, neutral green. It's a little bit hard to see initially on the palette because your brain views this as contaminated yellow, but as you mix it more and more and apply it to canvas, you can start to see the calm green color emerge. This neutral green stands out really nicely, especially against my earthy red background. Time to introduce light turquoise into the mix to create some variation, and yep, this one is becoming friends with black color on my palette too. It's given me a little bit of color variety between each petal, so it starts to make them more interesting from the get-go, but so far I'm keeping everything in the neutral zone. This first layer is creating the mood for the subsequent layers and is basically setting the stage for future highlights. Here comes another nice muted mix of black and magenta. And this one is going to start to define the undertones of my stems and leaves. I'm going to add some white to it in parts to start creating some mild highlights. Now adding in a warm violet. It is also becoming friends of my palette with magenta and black. And this way I can create a variety of color within my petals when dipping a little bit into violet, a little bit into magenta, and working in a patchwork color style to fill my canvas with the first layer. Here comes phthalo blue. When mixed with black, it gives a really calm, moody shade. And when paired near magenta and violet, it also looks really beautiful. This makes the grouping in the leaves analogous, and in my newest online course, Magnetic Color, we create a few studies step by step from some beautiful analogous palettes. I wasn't satisfied with the composition at the top. I decided I needed to have just a few more botanical elements, so I grabbed my charcoal pencil and sketched them in. And I decided to make these solid black to create an even stronger overall contrast. They'll get highlights later, but for now, they're gonna stay pitch black. Back to my flower petals now for the second layer. This layer is getting the same mix of black and yellow, but I'm using more cadmium yellow this time around to make them a little bit lighter. So I'm starting to build out their texture here with the darker muted tones showing in between and the lighter dabs on top. And of course, the turquoise is still making it into my mix as well. Can't forget about creating that color variety no matter how many layers you're in. Now I'm mixing up my background colors from ultramarine blue, bright pink, violet, and white. And here, this is the key to mixing up a lot of black into the colors on your palette, at least in expressive art. Decide on one area of the painting that is going to be very vibrant. It's going to offer a visual contrast to all those muted, calm tones that you used when you mixed them with your black color. So for me, it is going to be a background. And as you may see, my background is not going to have any black in it. This is going to be the high chroma anchor that holds all my muted tones together and offers visual candy between all the calmer colors. So I've mixed up this beautiful variation of blue-violet, a little bit more pink in places, light tone that is serving as my background for this composition. I'm continuing to apply my colors in a patchwork style because I like for each negative space area to be a little bit different throughout my whole painting. So, what do you think so far? There's something stuck to my coffee cup. Oh, it's a message to subscribe to my channel. How did that get there? Now finishing out with my first layer of background to cover my earthy red underpainting, but if any tiny pinholes and tiny spaces remain in between the brushstrokes of my background, that's no big deal. That will be okay. This earthy red color is there for a reason, and if it decides to show through a little bit in my final piece, it is part of the plan. Now going back to my black-violet mix, just with a little bit more white to create highlights on those leaves and petals. Let's bring magenta and pink into this game too. And as I was assessing the color structure of my painting so far, I realized it needs a new addition, a little bit of orange, to create some surprise elements in the petals, to bring in just a little bit of warmth here and there. And I'm mixing my orange with magenta and a little bit of black still. And here it goes. It creates a few highlights here and there to make my leaves and petals more interesting. It almost brings that underpainting color towards my foreground, directly into my objects. So orange gave me just a little bit of that warmth that I was looking for, just a touch. Orange is farther away from blue and violet on the color wheel, so it helps to break up the cool temperature monotony. I also take a deep dive into these in my magnetic color course, by the way. Third layer of petals, still mixing up my yellow and black, but with a little bit more yellow, and it is building up over the previous two layers to continue creating that dimension. And I'm still not forgetting about adding some turquoise here and there. Now the second pass of my background, keeping it vibrant but adding a little bit more white for those pastel brushstrokes. But of course I'm making sure to have some of the first darker layer showing through. And the fourth highlight layer on the flower petals, I've lost count. Yeah, fourth. As you may be able to see, acrylic paint dries darker. It looks a little bit more dull than it did right after it was applied, and that's typical, that's expected of acrylic paint, and that is why I wait for each of my previous layers to dry before making an assessment and deciding whether or not to add additional ones and how many. And I just observe after drying every time and figure out when the canvas had just enough of the light color touches. So this may be the last layer on the petals, but we'll see. Now I'm taking my neutral blue-black tone and adding just a dab of white to create some highlights on those fully black botanical elements that I added earlier. I'm gonna call them twigs with leaves. Whatever they are, they fit. Meanwhile, acrylic on my leaves had a chance to dry. It has gotten darker, so I'm going over it with magenta and orange to enhance those highlights in some parts. And this mix dries a little bit transparent, so it still allows for that muted black-violet tone to show underneath. Now enhancing the background with a lighter touch just a little bit, and it's done! From my visual assessment, after the paint has been allowed to settle for a little while, everything has just the right amount of layers without me overworking it for no reason. But I am adding my little signature touch that I like to add, which is a paint pen outline. It makes my objects more crisp and honestly just feels satisfying to sit there and draw around them. Plus, it also offers an extra dose of contrast next to those muted, calmer colors that were created with the help of black. And there you have it. As you can see, black can be a powerful tool when used strategically in acrylic painting. It's often misunderstood or completely avoided because of its tendency to flatten or deaden color. It's certainly not a great companion when it accidentally contaminates your palette, but when mixed in with intention, it can actually make some beautiful neutrals into your work. The key is balance. What makes black really work in expressive painting, that is when it's paired with elements that are still full of chroma or lighter values, those vibrant and more energetic layers that you watched me build up on this piece. By blending parts of your painting with mixed black, you naturally create neutrals and softness that help your lighter and more saturated colors shine. The dulled down parts start to act as support players, like background singers, letting the bold notes hit even harder. This contrast creates visual interest and hierarchy. Not everything has to scream to be seen. Some parts whisper so that others can sing, right? And that interplay is what gives your painting its rhythm and richness. So don't be afraid of black, just use it with purpose. Let it quiet certain moments so that others can carry the spotlight. And remember, black is only one way of many to neutralize your color mix. That's the magic of understanding your palette from both technical and energetic place. And to see how my canvases all start out, jump into this video right here.